Hello and welcome back. I'm your host, Chris Jones. Today, I am life writing with a mental health professional by the name of Demere Coker. He is a therapist, researcher, and community advocate. He'll be breaking down a slew of mental health aspects. How is it going, Demere?
Well, so far, so good. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, I appreciate you being on here. I would
Hmm.
say about 3 or 4 years ago, I had a few things going on in and around my family.
Hmm.
I had some issues going on. I use the word issues loosely, um, but the point of me sharing that is I didn't know what was going on,
Mm.
but I was situationally aware enough to know that something was going on, and I
Mm.
needed to reach out. Right, I needed a voice. I needed someone to kind of help and kind of talk me through some things, and it has worked wonders. Needless to say,
Mm.
to a
Love that.
professional like you, right?
Love that.
There's a stigma around it. We'll get into a lot of that later. I'm happy to have someone on here from just the depth and breadth of your profession, and just to be a little biased, having a black male to
Yes.
talk to about this that puts a totally different spin on it in itself. But we want to hear just a little bit more about you in
Yeah.
particular. And the first thing is how did mental health grab and keep your attention?
Great question. So the origin story, I like to say. I'm from Buffalo, New York, and I like to say, which is two hours away from Canada. A lot of people don't know from Toronto, right? So it's only
Oh,
15 minutes away from Canada.
yeah.
And one thing about that during the pandemic, I say two things was open. It was the liquor stores and the casinos in my neighborhood where I'm from,
Mm.
east side of Buffalo. And when the schools closed down and when activities are closed down, people gonna find other options. And I would say that was a few of the options that I began to partake in. And during that time, I was at the University of Buffalo receiving my bachelor's.
Oh,
So
okay.
first, I started off with I always wanted to help people. So first, I started off with physical therapy, right? But then I found out I wasn't good at natural sciences, right? So I went to social science, which was psychology, and I learned to love it, right? I love to talk to people, study people. So sociology and psychology. Psychology was my major. But during the time of the pandemic, I started to gamble more, and that became a habit. So I figured out not just myself, but I seen my uncles, my cousins, my grandfather, um, who went through similar problems, and even problems I didn't go through, such as incarceration, right? So I'm seeing all this need for help in our communities. And my sister, she went to get her degree in social work. So she was a beacon of hope, a beacon of change. And I'm like, I can follow a similar path. So that's what kind of got me involved in this field.
Wow. Talk about being situationally aware.
Yeah.
That have that type of introspection and honesty with self. And I have to be honest. So, I've been around a little while. I'm 52 years old. And I say it that way because I've come in contact with a lot of people. I talk. I love talking. You talk
Mhm.
about talking with people and helping people through stuff. I just absolutely love it. Um, but I say that to say I would have never guessed that was your part of your reason,
Mhm.
right? Something, a real phenomena that not just you, like you mentioned, your family members, dad specifically, and some others, were dealing with something, and you found the need, you felt the need to kind of delve a little deeper. And I'm sorry, so you've been doing it for about how long now?
Yeah, for about how long? Let's see. I've been licensed for over a year now. I started my master's about 3 years ago. I finished
Okay.
started so I've been in the field for about 4 years. Right now I'm going to get my PhD at the great Bowie State University,
Okay. Congrats
counselor
in
and
advance.
supervision. So
Good
uh,
deal.
yes, sir. Speaking of that, you touched on it earlier about having a black male, and that's another reason I'm going to get my doctorates, right? Because representation matters. As far
Yes.
as licensed clinicians, it's only 3%. 3% are black males. Yeah,
Really?
3% of clinicians are black males, and females, I believe, is only 8% black females. It's majority dominated by white females and white males. Hmm.
Now, that's a statistic that, and I'm this self-professed numbers guy, especially when it comes to like stats and such. I would have lost $1 million had I had to guess something like that. I knew the numbers were low, um, not in the lower single digits though, especially when it comes to black men.
Mhm. And people would argue that statistic. People say it's lower, that 1% to 2% range. But from the studies I reviewed, it was a 3% range. And you touched on it earlier, that the stigma around mental health, and I think that's a part of it, because individuals want to talk to people that they view have similar life expectancies, who know the culture that they come from, who they don't have to explain the background of the culture, then
Right.
explain their problem, right? And explain who they are. So having somebody that look like them, that definitely eases it, and it welcomes them into the room.
Looking at the banner, the LGPC. So that stands for license what?
Licensed graduate professional counselor.
Okay, graduate professional counselor. So what is the distinction there? What's the nuance of how that's different from another one? For my edification,
Yeah,
I'm sure for some others.
yeah. So when I became a LGPC in April of last year, and in Maryland, it's LGPC, then it's a LCPC. All right. And it's just about the amount of clinical hours they receive under supervision. So
Oh,
I just have to receive 2 years of supervisions or meet a certain hour requirement, then I can be fully licensed.
wow. Okay. No, that's good stuff. Good stuff. So I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But now I'm a little curious. So your aspirations, what does that look like? You plan to do what with it in the next, I don't know, 10, 15 years or so?
I'm gonna answer it using the identities that you put up earlier. So the therapist, the researcher, and the community advocate.
Okay.
So researcher, one of my main research topics is gambling addiction. As I mentioned earlier, I was a victim of that. I gambled heavily for about 5 years. So even towards the end of my bachelor's, and even when I was studying for my master's, I was still gambling.
Really?
Yeah. Quick, quick,
Wow.
quick side note to that is the first time I ever admitted that I had a problem with gambling was at a conference, and I was speaking about gambling. So, yes, and that's the first
Okay.
time I said it. Yep.
Okay. I, I wasn't expecting that response.
Yep.
Wow. So
Uh,
so so it works.
yeah, it definitely works. Yeah. So gambling addiction that's my main research topic, and the population is for Black males because we have the highest gamblers usage rates, right? Even the different ways we gamble, it's not researched as much, like spades, dice, the certain different language that is involved, right? Did you roll a snake eyes? Did you run the Boston on the spades table, right? Some people would not know that, right?
So I lean back and I'm giggling and tearing it up inside. I attended two HBCUs.
Mm,
Correct me if I misspeak. Even just to convey that initial part of it, the thought of it,
mm.
you're gambling. Like that's the act of like gambling. Does
Yeah,
that
it's a part of gambling, right? That being embedded in the culture, that competitiveness, that betting that does come along with it, those scripts. So one of my recent projects was on scripts and schemas, like pressure make diamonds, uh, win big or go home. Like the scripts that we say in the Black community is embedded, and that leads to I believe it leads to gambling-like behaviors. It touches on our conversation we was having earlier about the representation, because if we was to go see a clinician that maybe is not the same race as us, or maybe in a different socioeconomic class, then it's like, what is spades? Like now I have to break down the game, what is spades to you, before I can really get to my problem, which is gambling, and how one person they think reneging is something they might not know what reneging is. First of all, then, oh, you got an argument over reneging? How is that? They don't know how much pride is attached to that game, right? So
Yeah,
it's so many complexities that we don't think about when it comes to that.
yeah, that's right. Wow. Okay, I'm glad you brought that part up. So, Mental Health Awareness Month in
Mm,
itself, what should we be doing? I say
mm,
should loosely too. What
mm.
should we be doing? How can we observe it? What does that look like from your vantage point?
From my vantage point, one advocate, one poet, one scholar that I love is Audre Lorde, right?
Mm,
So when it comes to that, rest is resistance, right? That notion of radical self-care before it was commoditized is to to rest, to relax, to reflect. That's the way to fight against the system, right? As we know right now, it's a hostile climate, and during Mental Health Awareness Month, that radical self care is needed, right? So I'm not saying go out buy a yoga mat. I'm not saying go out purchase a massage, which can be a part of mental health awareness, but there's other aspects, right? Such as reading, right? Such as reflecting on experience, journaling, writing, just outside soaking up the sun, having conversations with people who have maybe the same viewpoint as you, and people who don't, who have different viewpoints of you, right? Because if we don't talk to people with different point of views, we won't grow. And I like to call that the intellectually lazy aspect, right? Because we only looking for a confirmation bias in a sense. So
hmm
having those hard conversations, having those hard discussions, and as James Baldwin talked about, as long as it's from a place of respect, as long as it's not against my humanity, we could disagree all day. And I think that's something that is needed, and I think that is a part of Mental Health Awareness Month: relaxing, reflection, right, and recharging.
Taking care of your mental health, but specifically uh, engaging with a therapist, with a
Mm,
counselor, with a. Why is there still such a stigma around that, and particularly from the Black male perspective?
mm, that is a deep rooted question. One of the theories, one of the frameworks I like to look through is called Black Male Studies by Dr. Tommy Curry. And what he looked at, the lens he looked through is a social cultural historical lens, if I'm not mistaken. But he looked through history, and it's like, so we have to look at the social aspect that was against black men, right? We could talk about uh, psychology experiments. We could talk
hmm
about Tuskegee. We could talk about Tosin, right? Some of the
Right.
things that makes us standoffish, right? How black vulnerability is not always, it's not always welcome. As again, we talked about some of the scripts earlier. Um, I have to make it happen for my family. I have to be a provider. Men don't cry, right? So some of them things are instilled in our black males, and that leads them to shy away from seeking help because they think vulnerability is a weakness, right? And having these conversations such as this is good, right? Having conversations. So one thing that I do like that is going on right now is what's happening in Baltimore when people that have lived experience, right? They go into the community, they talk to individuals in the community, then those individuals, they lead them into the office, right? So a lot of the individuals I work with are reentering societies, anywhere from a short stint in jail to 52 years in jail, right? So some of these individuals had terrible experiences in prison and terrible experiences with medication. So it's on us, people that look like them, people who may have uncles and family members, such as I have, that knows the experience, that's willing to listen right? Listen to
Mhm.
understand instead of listen to react. I feel like
Mm.
that's a lot with our black men. We want to tell them this is what you got to do. You have to do this. You have to work twice as hard. But what is your problem? Let me not put you in a single lens. You're not the same as everybody. You have different lived
Right.
experiences.
Mhm.
And Bell Hooks, she talks about lived experience and inviting that into the classroom, but also inviting that into the therapy office. I think that's what us as mental health clinicians, that's what we have to do, right? And I think your podcast is a great point, right? Two black men talking about the importance of mental health, and I think that's a great start. I also think that pro bono work is coming up.
Mm.
It's going to be needed, right?
Right.
Doing some events in the school. Talk to them while they're young. Let's go to career fairs and talk. Let's get that 3% up, right? So engaging in some of those activities with our communities instead of viewing that power dynamic, like we're above, we got
Mhm.
all these degrees and leaving our
Mhm.
community. I don't think that will help. I think we're on a good track though.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, let me preface this next question. Do you have like a one of those? I like to capture it like a feel good story that you could share, a breakthrough that someone
Mm,
had. I mean, heck, now that I think about it, you're a
yeah.
living witness of it.
Yeah,
But
I'm definitely I'm definitely
but
a
what you
living with.
share?
I think it's a few ways to look at it. I know in life and definitely when it comes to counseling, we like to hear these 180s, 360s changes, right? But I love even the small moments, right? We had
Mhm.
this one client, he was in service for years. He was battling with schizophrenia. He wasn't on his medication, then he was on his medication. Then I ended up getting him as a client. Then one thing I did was I listened to understand, right? Because the treatment that he was given, the regular talk therapy that we was engaging with, the CBT, which is, you know, cognitive behavior therapy, which is from a Eurocentric lens, it wasn't really helping him. So he told me he liked music and beats, right? I believe he said his favorite beat producer was the Ninth Wonder. So I'm like, let's engage that. Bring your computer, bring the headphones. How does this reflect?
Ah.
Um, his parents wasn't from the U.S., so I'm like, what music did they used to listen to? What feelings does that bring? Can you make a beat like that? Then at the end of after a few weeks and months of doing that, he started engaging on his medication. Then we even threw a office party, and he played beats for the staff, and he was really engaged because he never played his beats outside of the session. But that was just like, wow, man. Uh,
No, that is, and to your point, I remember years ago with my therapist. So that resonated with me too because I love music. I mean,
mm,
most who doesn't love music,
right.
right? But I remember a session I had, and it kind of went in that direction about things that I like doing, what brings me joy, you know, and music. I love to drive. I hit the road and just drive, right?
Mm,
But one thing has to be constant. One thing is needed. I need to have my music.
mm,
As long as I have my music, I can literally
yep.
drive to the West Coast. I could take off tomorrow and keep going.
Mm,
So music is something that does it for me. And
mm,
whenever I'm in a particular space and that I need some calmness, I have certain music, obviously that we listen to.
mm,
We all do it, even if we really think about it that way or not. So anyway, not to belabor the point, but that's what resonated with me, or why it resonated with me when you said it. In terms of lifestyle, Demir.
mm,
So it's kind of folks have been in therapy, then they disengage, or you're fine, you're okay, and you no longer see your therapist. What can a person do to ensure that they, how should I put it, create like a lifestyle, a healthy lifestyle, uh,
mm,
that's going to help? ensure that they have the good mental health?
That's a great question. Um, let's see. I think first is sitting down and reflecting, like you just did, on what you like to do, right? So for me, it's I love writing. I love to write poetry, right? When I'm in feeling myself or I had a long days, I go directly to poetry, and that is something we need, something that makes our souls sing, something that makes us passionate. Find out what that is. Again, rest is needed, right? Social
Right.
support system is needed, right? So if you wasn't born with one, I know I have some clients who's not close with their family, right? So what do you like to do? Then we're gonna find people that like to do similar things, right? So building your own support system is needed in these times. Each one teach one. So writing or listening to music, reading, engaging in an activity. Right? Another aspect is finding like-minded individuals, right, who's on the right path. Um, Another thing can be spiritual. I think spiritual is important as well. Whether it may not have to be an organized religion, or it may not have to be that. But again, what makes your soul sing? Figure that out. So them different aspects of wellness is needed, right? Emotional wellness, social wellness, occupational wellness. So the 8 dimensional wellness. I think you look at each category and you figure out where you're most deficient in and where you're the best at, and let's work to make it more balanced. They have
Right.
one thing called a wellness compass, and it's free online. You can take the test. It's out of 100 for each category, and I think that'd be pretty cool to figure out where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah. It's the point is there are so many things that you can do. Most people are engaged in a lot of activities and such, but there are a handful of things that you are like truly passionate about.
Mhm.
And those are some of the things that you should and engulf yourself in, surround yourself, with and by and create your own little not say a bubble, but your own little world of
Mhm.
things that give you those little you touched on it several minutes ago, those little breakthroughs. That was one of the things that I had to internalize in that way in lieu of trying to just change the whole freaking world. Chris, how about taking care of this part? How about doing this, and that? But that was the pressure that I used to arbitrarily put on myself. And I say therapy for me really helped, as I
Mhm.
mentioned earlier, because it was a true stigma. The older I've gotten and the more I've had that type of assistance, I've seen that. No, that does convey strength, right?
Mhm. Yes, it does.
Hey, Demir, I can keep you on here for another 20, 30 minutes. So I told you before, I love running my mouth and I love talking about these things for folks who may be apprehensive, specifically that Black man who may
Mhm.
be apprehensive to seek help. What are some of the things that he should think about that may push him closer to reaching out to a professional such as yourself?
Right. I would say, let's see, take the agency. You are in control, right? When it comes to therapy, people don't know that consultations, right? So you get to choose. You just don't have to go to the first person that you go to. They always make this comparison. Therapy is like dating, right? They always say that. So you're gonna find some people who's like-minded, right? Who has a certain, maybe you're looking for somebody that has experience in trauma, right? So on their pages they should have their expertise. So mine's is gambling. Um, so look at their bio. I think that's great. Go to consultations. Consultations are typically free, right? And even come to groups, right? They have groups even if you're not ready to take the step of the individualized therapy, right? Maybe you're working against substances, maybe you're working against childhood trauma, maybe you need to partake in a group. So let's build that community, right? Then if some things come up that you do need to process outside of that session, let's take this step and let's go to therapy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm going to have you on again. Um, uh, well, so the words that I like using with certain professionals, as a true professional, no matter your subject matter expertise, people, because they're so not just the knowledgeable in what they're talking about, but aside from that, those passions, they're so passionate about them, right? So that knowledge meets that passion, and when they convey things and break them down, they're just so digestible. You
Hmm.
break the most difficult type of theory down in a practical sense, and you convey it in a way that people are hopefully more open to receive it. And I say that because that's how you present and deliver your information.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I see the young doctor coming into his own real soon, really soon. That's
Appreciate you.
good stuff. Good stuff. So, Demir, how can people like reach you?
So I'm on LinkedIn under Demere Coker. You can reach me at that. Currently, I work at Meta Behavioral Health, which is located in Upper Marlboro. We do in person or we do virtual.
Okay.
Um, so if it is the black man that is on this call that is looking for therapy, currently I am accepting clients.
Okay.
And other than that, I'm on Instagram on DNC underscore Mere, MERE. And I look forward to connecting.
No, good stuff. Well, I'm going to make sure I have all of that in the description as well. And if we need to seek professionals such as yourself, we shouldn't hesitate to do so. And I can speak firsthand. I know the benefit of seeking help, seeking professional assistance. So I appreciate you coming on here.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
To the audience, thanks for tuning in. Like this video, leave a comment, and share. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. This is another way we creatively inform and inspire, helping people write the lives they desire. Till the next time, take care of your mental health